Hello.
Hey,
Welcome.
welcome y'all.
Welcome to Put It All on the Table.
Where
I'm
queens
Roberta.
talk about it and be about it.
I'm
That's a new one. They
uh-oh.
laughing. I like that.
I'm Roberta. Right. They got jokes. Well, I'm Roberta. I'm Roberta, the tool lady.
And I'm Nisha, the
You know
social
what?
advocate. And we want to thank all of
And
our
we
viewers and listeners for tuning in today. We are so grateful that you guys are here. Catch us every Monday at 8 p.m. We be talking about some good stuff and put it all on the table because queens here are about it and be about it. Follow us on Facebook at Put It All on the Table Podcast. Also, YouTube, Put It All on the Podcast. Put It All on the Table Podcast. And subscribe. That's where our stuff is streaming at as of right now. You can always check events. We're also on Instagram at Put It All on the Table Podcast. Give us a follow. A quick disclaimer for this episode is going to be good. Okay. It's going to be good. And if you have a comment that, you comment or a question or whatever, we might not be able to get to it right in the moment, but just be patient with us. And if we can't get to it by the end of the podcast, we definitely will come back to you once the show is over. Okay? So let's just get into it and put it on the table, baby. So y'all know I'm the social advocate, right? So I'm going to bring the controversial topics. Okay. So my topic that I chose for us to discuss for this episode is called Hood Feminism, if you guys haven't read the title. So the reason that we labeled this episode Hood Feminism is because we actually started reading/listening to a book entitled Hood Feminism: Notes from Women That the Movement Forgot About by Mickey Kendall. Y'all, this book speaks to my soul. And if you know me, you know how I am about social awareness and, more importantly, feminism. So, yeah, let's get into it. So, we are going to get into the first chapter of her book. So, she's got her introduction and all that good stuff. And then there's the first chapter. Now, the first chapter is what the title of the first chapter is what kind of took me by surprise because I didn't necessarily know where she was going to go with this, right? So the first chapter is called Solidarity is Still for White Women. Hey, Jackie.
Hey.
Welcome in. So I just gave them the whole rundown of everything. And you're right on time. So I was talking about
Hey.
getting into the first chapter, which is called Solidarity is Still for White Women. And in this chapter, just to give this chapter some, I don't know, just to explain it to you, I guess, or everyone, our listeners. This chapter is really her getting into like the purpose of her book, kind of. Basically pointing out the issues that she experienced or her experience as a Black woman when it comes to feminism. So, what she meant by solidarity is still for white women, and she quotes and says, mainstream feminists calls for solidarity centered on not only concerns but comforts of white middle class women at the expense of other women. That spoke to me. I ain't gonna lie to y'all. Because earlier in the introduction, which we didn't all really get into it, it kind of just gives it some texture, some substance. She talks about how her mother and her grandmother never identified as feminists, because they grew up or were adults during the feminist movement back in what, maybe like the 70s, 60s or 70s. And it was centered on, women's rights, not being able to work, being able to work, equal pay, those types of things. But for Black women, those things really weren't an option. So, like, as we all know, when women got the right to vote, it was just white women. Black people, period, could not vote when white women and men were given the right to vote. So she kind of connects those two and kind of says, like, hey, with my mom and my grandma, with this feminist movement, it didn't really apply to us. It really only focused on the needs and desires of white women because my grandma had to work regardless. Like, that's just something that had, even if she didn't work in the daytime, she came home and she worked because she took care of her kids. So that was really interesting for me. And then the other point was marginalized women's issues have increased in intensity and rarely take center stage when it comes to feminist movement. So if you ladies want to chime in and give your input or how you felt about this chapter or the 2 points that I just made.
Well, listening to it, I looked up the word feminism so our audience would realize kind of what it means. It's
Mm-hmm.
the belief that women should have equal rights, power, and opportunity as men. Um, Now, the other part of it, in listening to the book and taking the book in, where she's saying is that people of color didn't have a choice.
Right.
So basically, what she's saying, we never stopped working,
Mm-hmm.
right? We were always working, because the whole thing with the feminist movement is that you had the right to work, right? But we were already working, so we never did fall back. We never did have someone in the home say to just take care of us. And
And more
from
importantly, Roberta, not to interrupt you, more importantly, in certain times too, you had it to where when the white woman was able to go to work, somebody had to step in the home, and that was always us, taking care of the kids, doing all these different things. So we didn't get the right or the option to even not work because we took their spot.
right, we were the domestic people.
Yes.
The domestic people. So and even still yet, when we talk about people of color, it's still yet the domestic population mostly, that are the servants in the homes and the servants in. So yeah, I can see where she's coming from with that, as far as saying where did the rights, and I think the other thing is, to me, I don't discredit the white women's voters, because that is who helped us a lot during our civil rights, right? During the civil rights movements, they were the ones who did a lot for that movement, in going into our history of America. But the other part of it is, I think what this book is saying, where did the benefits lie, and where are they at in spectrum to today? I think
Mhm.
it I think that's what it is. How about you, Jackie?
Yeah, so I really, really like the first chapter. I'm already into the second chapter of the book. Um and I'm with Roberta. I get where she's coming from. Because yes, as she stated in the book, one size fits all approach does not work.
Mhm.
Because it doesn't actually address each population of women. Because yes, we are all women, but as women of color or transsexual women, like there's different populations within each, and this is for anything, right? For if you look across for different at different things, there's always like populations within the population. And so I really like that, because we even say that with mental health, right? There's not one
Right.
size fits all for mental health. So I really, really liked when she said that, because I know whenever I thought about feminism, I thought it was more so like, um screw men, and we're women power and all that. But once I really listened and then even did my own research, I was like, okay, I'm like, so it's really of us still fighting the battle of wanting to get equal pay as men, right? Or even so, like, I'm this. There's someone, Priyanka, I believe that's her name, a celebrity, who is a video that I keep coming across. I've seen it before, where she says, it's us fighting I'm a mom, yes, but I also can be a CEO, and I also can, not be questioned as to you're a CEO, because
Mhm.
men don't get that. They don't get that. They don't be told, oh, you're a man and you have 3 kids. How do you do it all? No, they get the praise, but
Yeah.
the woman doesn't. The woman gets all the questions and how are you handling it all? And I'm like, well, why? Why do we have to? Why do you always have to differentiate the two? Because we're still both parents. Like just like he's handling, I can handle it as well. So I really like that, 'cause she kind of like broke it down so that I could understand it.
Yeah. So basically, this chapter is talking more about how feminism, in theory, is inclusive, but in reality, it's
Mhm.
not. So she
Yeah.
discussed like a intersectionality approach, which is basically what you're talking about, Jackie. And intersectionality is when you take people from different groups, more specifically, most times in marginalized groups or oppressed groups.
Mhm.
So like us women here for ourselves. Not only are we women, but we belong to women of color, black, Hispanic. We have issues from both sides, right? And it seems like feminism only focuses on white women who only belong to one part of the group, which is okay. But if you're going to have a movement that is centered on liberation for women, it needs to be for all women and not just focus on um, one group. So I want to go back to what Roberta said, which was really good. Roberta, you talked about how white women typically were the ones that fought for us during the civil rights movement, right? And I know we've
Mhm.
also discussed in previous episodes about the strong black woman image. And I discussed how I wasn't the biggest fan. And here, with the statements you said, Roberta, and the book, and my opinions on, the whole strong black woman movement thing or ideology, she really pulled that together for me because she quoted and said, the strong black image ideology links with white feminism, and it has made white women feel like and make it okay with themselves to accept the fact that other women have to wait um, to get the same rights, right? Because
Mhm.
they view us as a group of women who are built, is what she said, who are built to take abuse and ignorance, making our needs less pressing. So she's basically saying, like, everyone looks at black women like, oh, black women are fine. They're strong, they're independent, they're this, they're that. They've been through so much in history. They don't really need as much liberation as we do because they've been doing it for so long and they can handle it, right? And not only do you see that in the feminist movement, you also see that almost in every other way when it comes to black women. Whether it's when you're dating, you're expected to take accept less, when you're at the doctor, they don't believe your pain. They don't believe that anything's going wrong because they just believe, oh, you're a black woman, you're fine, you can handle this, right? So
Mhm.
that was a really big thing for me, and it really solidified my feelings on
Yeah.
being a strong black woman because I don't claim that, and I will never claim that. I'm not that strong. I'm human. I'm weak sometimes, and I need help just like any other woman in work from time to time, right?
Right.
So yeah, I don't speak on that. But I can give you ladies the floor on that topic. I don't know if that stuck out to y'all or if it was
Right.
just me.
Well, I'm going to go along with your place this time. In 1930 is when they got the rights to vote. We didn't get our rights to vote till 1965.
Right.
Our rights are still on the table, being taken,
Mhm.
meaning they're still dividing, dissecting, finding ways for people of color not to vote.
That's very true.
Mhm.
So it took us a while to get to the voters' booths. Took us 1965, uh, and they were already voting. White women were already voting in 1930. So that was 35 years. So that's kind of your waiting period
Mhm.
on our voting, and the importance of it. Your other part of it, when you say mental health and physical health lines up together. So
That's
if our
true.
mental health is not together with our physical, we're in trouble.
Hmm.
And I think as people of color, we do get put on the back burner with mental health. We get put on the back burner of also with medical. I have, when I met Jackie, those are some things that came to mind. We're here in Texas. A lot of women die from childbirth. A lot of women
Mhm.
of color.
Yeah.
Yep.
A
Speak
lot of women of
on
color.
it.
Someone said that's why we need to vote. That's right. That's we do.
Yes.
And
We
I
need. We
always say that. I always say that. Y'all say we don't need to vote, but because our vote doesn't count. But voters' oppression would not be a thing if our vote did not matter. They would
That's
not
right.
be trying to stop people of color and people in low socioeconomic status communities from voting if it did not matter. Because why? They're creating laws and rules and regulations and statutes and all types of things to
Yeah.
keep us where we are at. They don't
Yeah.
want.
Yeah, and you know, like you said, like people say, oh, my vote doesn't matter. Actually, if all of our people, if all people of color that can vote would get out there and vote,
That's
like
right.
we would make drastic changes. Like if we, and we are the majority. If you
Mhm.
look at the statistics, we are the majority, and we really, really could shake, a lot of the, the political world, like the
Absolutely.
positions and the stands and stuff, if we really, really got out there to vote. Being in the position that I am now, with this nonprofit civic engagement organization, it really opens my eyes in the reality that we have to do that. We have to get out and vote. And we have to also educate, people on breaking it down for them, right? We have to break it down because the reality is they make it to where we don't understand,
Mhm.
where it's so
Mhm.
complex. So that's why organizations like the one I work for, Somos Tejas, is out there to break it down for the community and to say, okay, this is what this means. And, this, now you pick yes or no based off of what we've informed you. So it is very important. And it's one thing that stuck out to me as well, was the healthcare did stuck out to me. She
Mhm.
mentioned about that there are disparities, and I think we've mentioned that before, here as well. Not only with mental health, but health in general. There's a lot of disparities. The quality access to care is one
Mhm.
of the big things, because there can be many clinics, right? Many clinics in the areas, free clinics or sliding scale fees, but they're not always the best quality clinics. But one other thing that really, really stuck out to me was when she said, language matters. And it does. It really does. If if white women, and opening the doors.
Right.
So she informed of someone that she knew that opened the door for her for comics. And it matters if as a person that you have privilege, white privilege. Let's just say it. A lot of individuals who are white, they have white privilege. They have a lot of privilege. And if they know, oh, you want this, you want the access to this room, or you want to be able to move up, and you want to work over here, let me go ahead and connect you with this person. That that is using your privilege and helping me out, right? Put opening that access, that door for me. And unfortunately, that's the way that the door could open for us. But the reality is that if more individuals that had that privilege would do it, then we would stop seeing the disparities, right? And we could start seeing, actual, diversity, in different positions, in higher power positions, I should say, in leadership positions. So that was one thing that really stuck out to me. And the language thing, again, is just being inclusive, right? Including everyone in the
Absolutely.
in the fights that you're fighting, in the legislation, whatever it may be. Language matters. Make sure everyone is included. When you say women, make sure you talk about all women: white, black, brown, Asian, Vietnamese,
Mhm.
everyone. Because we're,
Mhm.
yes, we're all women, but the reality is, again, I'm gonna say, we still have to fight for our own. Like,
Right.
even though, there's feminists out there in the movement, they really still kind of tiptoeing around it,
Mhm.
and kind of trying to put themselves first. So you really have to be inclusive and watch your language, and really be for all women. Like, I'm someone, like, I want everyone to win. I'm
Yeah.
for everyone. I want everyone to win. I want everyone to succeed. If I know that you can succeed somewhere in a position that I know that I heard about, I'm going to tell you. I'm not going to keep that to
Mhm.
myself because I want everyone to win. And that's how it should be with
Yes,
You're
yes.
working out, Jackie. So I know we talked about employment. I want to say, Roberta, that might have been you who discussed the right to work as well.
Mhm.
Um, and there's also, the employment statistic that says women make 77 cents on the man's dollar, right?
hmm
So where the point you made, Roberta, and the point you made, Jackie, about the different fights that we fight and opening the door and things like that. Reality shows that white women actually make 77 cents on the man's dollar, and
hmm
black women and women of any other form of color make less than that. And so she also goes deeper, kind of into what you said, Jackie, about accessibility, right? And how we're fighting other fights that we have to overcome before we can even get to the point where we make 77 cents on the dollar. Like how many women,
hmm
black women and women of color have access to good jobs? What battles do we face to even get these jobs making 77 cents on the man's dollar? For example, they
Yeah.
just passed a law a few years ago that we can't be discriminated for wearing our natural hair, like and women not getting a job.
Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm.
It was crazy that there was even like a petition and all this. I'm like, what the heck does a hairstyle or hair color have to do with school or work?
Or like the names you might have. If it's a non-white American name, women aren't getting the job. So it's other
Yeah.
stuff that we have to fight for before we can even get to where white women are to even make that 77 cents
Yeah.
on
Right.
And you said name. Let me interject real quick. You said name. So my parents purposely named me Jacqueline
the.
so
Mhm.
that when I'm applying to jobs and I was applying to college, that my name wouldn't be something to stop me. Because if
Right.
I was named Alejandra
Mm-hmm.
or Sochi, which is actually like spelled Xiotchil, um, they'd be like, I don't even know how to say this person's name. Like, I'm
Right.
gonna say it wrong. And that is the reality that people really, really do look at that
Yeah.
stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, they
So,
do.
and I'm gonna be honest, that is why my kids' names are what they are: Anthony, Alexander, and Leonardo.
Mm-hmm.
So that they don't face disparities based off of just their name. Because even though we may say, and other people may say like, oh no, I don't judge a book by its cover. Yes, you do. You're judging off of my name. That's the first thing you're looking at. You're
And
looking at my
sometimes
name.
subconsciously, you don't even realize you're doing it because it's so
hmm
That's
deep
right.
ingrained in us to
That's
do
right.
that.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
right.
Absolutely. And so I saw
That's right.
someone say professionalism matters, though, which is very true. But my first counteract point to that is
Yeah.
what we're discussing, though, is before you even get in the door to the job. We're talking about how they might see, oh, her name Raenesha. Yeah, we're not going to do that. She sounds ghetto type of thing, right? So then
hmm
when you also get into professionalism, I also want to point out, and I don't know if a lot of people have thought of it this way, or if you ladies have, but a lot of professionalism etiquette is rooted in racism. It's rooted in whiteness,
Oh,
right?
yes.
So, like for
Right.
example, I saw a video of a black woman's talking about how she's being she's experiences microaggressions just by sitting in the room being quiet, right? So people
Mm.
always think black people are
Oh,
aggressive or you
yes.
always have an attitude. So if I'm even sitting here being quiet, it's been times where so many people have been like, "Are you okay? What's wrong? Why aren't you smiling? Do
Right.
you have an attitude? Are you mad today?" And I'm like, "No, I'm
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
I'm here paying attention, you know." So
Yes.
I want us to sometimes unlearn and relearn a lot of things out of the lens of the white lens we've been taught it in, right? Because a lot of it is
Right.
rooted in anti-black principles. We can just get into
Right.
it. You know what I'm saying? Which
They
is what
are.
this book goes
They
into.
are. I agree with you, Nisha. I like to say, for one, professionalism. What does that have to do with how our hair looks? What? Because that's our cultural differences, right? So basically, my hair is is not meant to be straight. My hair is not meant to be you know, is not meant to be blonde. That's not how it's going to grow. So why is that going to be? Why is that a presentation of being unprofessional? I mean, I think we need to kick that question around. How is that? Why I can't be who I am, come to that position and offer that position everything that I got, because if you got it, you're going to be able to do that job regardless of your hair is straight or if your skin is fair. And sitting here just going just talking to you guys today, I think about, I have a good friend in Oklahoma that my heart went out to. When I met them, I was a trainer, and it was three Hispanic ladies. One had been here for a while. Her sister-in-laws came over with her to America. They came to Oklahoma. Um, they were working for this lady. This lady had gave them a house to stay in. She only paid them minimum, not even minimum wage, but just a little bit of, just enough for them to say they had a job, basically. One of them, now this is a true story. The youngest one was cooking for her husband to come home. And because of the state of the house the lady gave them, provided for them to stay, she in she what is it called? She breathed in a bunch of gas. So once the husband got home, she caught on fire internally and died.
What?
Now, what I'm saying is, right, that house was not fit for them to stay in. That's one thing. That was a big a big issue. And who said, someone said it's political. It is political. This, we're putting it out there. This is it. This is right.
Mhm.
This is true. But the house was not even fit for people to stay in. And the girl had ingested. Now here they are, immigrants. So when I was watching them and engaging in them, and this is what I've told Nisha, I've told Jackie the same. That's why I see justice as justice. If you treat someone wrong, I kind of go back to Matthew. You treat someone, the less of us, wrong. Guess what? Count it as though as you treated me wrong. Because I
Mhm.
can't I
I
can't
live by
stand
that. I live by
I
that.
can't, yeah, I can't stand that. I can't. It's wrong. It's wrong. And so I used to tell him. I said, you can work somewhere else and make the amount of money you're supposed to make. And actually, I would move out of her house because her house is not fit for anybody. She's enslaving you guys. That's
Mhm.
modern day slavery. When you
Mhm.
talk about trafficking, it's going on. People are doing this. And then they're doing it all for the sake of them saying, "Hey, I'm in America now, right? And I'm trying to make a living, or I'm trying to make
Mhm.
life."
Taking
That's
advantage
what
of
they
people.
are. They're taking advantage of people. And this is going
Mhm.
on now. And not just
Mhm.
Hispanics, Africans. I've
Mhm.
seen indentured servants that were Africans in America. And you'll say, how do you see that in 2000? You open your eyes good enough, you're going to see it.
So will. If you allow
Mhm.
yourself, that is very true.
Yes.
And I did see the comment. I'm so glad Layuna joined too, because she's speaking up some good stuff. But I think Rayla kind of cleared it up for us too. I wasn't necessarily saying that, all rules and regulations in the workplace is rooted in, racism and all that kind of thing. I was
Yeah,
more
because
discussing
someone,
like when how it affects us. Like nobody can go to an interview with blue hair, like that's just against policy.
yeah,
Right.
well, see, I have purple in my hair.
Yeah.
So, I always questioned whether or not to dye my hair, with some purple in it. And it's like purple highlights and lowlights. So it's like a balayage. And I always question it because I'm like, my professionalism is gonna be questioned, oh, she
Yeah.
has that kind of hair. Like,
Mhm.
okay, and that means that she, maybe she a
I mean, I
hoodlum,
don't think hair color negates
stuff
professionalism
like that.
anyway.
But in reality, like people really, really do look at that
They
too.
do.
But for me, I was like, we're in modern day times. Like there are people that. What's the difference from me coming in with my purple high and low lights versus someone who has red hair or like mahogany brown reddish
Mm-hmm.
hair? Like, what's the difference? It's still a color. Like, well,
Mm-hmm.
why would mine matter? But people do look at that, and that's when their mindset has to change. Like, stop looking at the outside and focus on my intellectuality, my that I'm literate. Like focus on that and my expertise and my education. Focus on that. Don't focus on the outside. And that's really why I chose to do it. And my husband was like, "Go ahead, girl, you go ahead and do what you want to do. Like it's your hair. You do what you want to do." So he really, really encouraged me because I was really like skeptical, and so but I did it. But the fact is, like, employers need to get with the freaking program and
Mm-hmm.
understand that my hair has nothing to do with my intellectuality and my education and my expertise. Like I'm very knowledgeable and I'm damn good at what I do. So ignore the
Well,
outer
Jamie,
and
tell them.
understand what I'm
Tell
saying.
them. Tell them.
And
Period.
I think so.
So I'm really glad that we got into politics too, because that was going to be
Yes.
one of my last points that I really wanted to make, and then you guys can take the floor or whatever. So the last point that I wanted to make was how I loved how she discussed respectability politics. So that's basically you don't deserve this right if you don't fit into this bubble, right? So she really gets into like one of my favorite things she discussed was sex workers, right? And how there's this idea that they aren't deserving of respect and they aren't deserving to be included in the feminist movement because they don't respect themselves and they don't this. When it's like, okay, well, you said feminism, all women, like you gotta pick a side. Ain't no
Right.
picking and choosing. And I don't feel like your choice for what you're doing as a living or how you make your money and all that other stuff matters whether you deserve to have rights. I mean, we're human. We all off top. It's a right. I
Hmm.
don't know if a lot of people are on here or who's listening, but I used to be sure we gonna run over that. And so I agree in a way. I agreed before. But she also goes into like, when you get into like oppression and all the different things that we have discussed, sometimes women don't have a choice but to be a sex worker. You know what I mean? If
Hmm.
I'm broke today and I don't make the 77 cents on the dollar that the white woman making at this job, my check wasn't enough because I didn't get to do overtime because it was a holiday, so I only got 8 hours. My kids is hungry now. What I need to do? I'm gonna do what I gotta do regardless.
Right.
Even if
Right.
that means get on the stripper pole, walk the
Right.
street, hit the corner, text my little friend. So I just feel like we just don't have the right to judge anybody based off of
Yeah.
that. Take away natural born rights that they
Hmm. Yeah.
deserve.
That's right. I
And,
agree with you. I fully agree. I think it's our oldest profession.
mhm.
When we talk about prostitution, it's the oldest profession to men. So really it's nothing new. And I think that we're talking about judgments when we do start talking about being judgmental. We can't
Mhm.
say you don't deserve or they don't deserve. I think it's all inclusive. That's like, again, that's what I've been saying because I've seen people be treated really badly and women, us being treated badly. Like I said, living in less than home housing, less than getting paid, less than what we deserve, uh, and not getting our needs met medically. All of those things, I believe that's we should be standing together for that. Uh, I believe that.
Definitely. And my experience, Roberta, I can definitely attest to that. It's as if um yeah, men even feel like you don't deserve a certain level of respect just because
Mm.
you make your money the way you make your money, which to me is ass backwards. I ain't gonna lie, I'm just gonna put it on the table. If anybody needs to be feeling bad about this, it should not be the person making money. You the one slow enough to come in here and spend all your check on some ads. Let's keep it up. All right, let's put it on the anything. I'm the smart one here because all I gotta do is take my ass.
I mean, they are the ones. They are the ones keeping the business going.
Thank you.
But you know what?
And you know, that even goes. It even goes hand in hand with like the OnlyFans. You know, even OnlyFans girls are getting crap about it, and I'm like, let them be. If it works for them, if it's for them, and they getting paid. I mean, they talking about they making millions a year. Let
Yes,
them keep
girl.
doing it, and y'all are keeping them in business. You want to talk smack about, oh, you're selling your body and all this stuff. Well, first of all, they're doing it all through video. They probably aren't. You know, there's probably no one else in that video with them, and if there is, so what? That's their choice. Like I'm all about, you know, it's their choice. They get in their money. And at the end of the day, like, I'm not God. I don't judge. The only one who can judge us is God, you know, and that's who we have to answer to. At the end of the day, you do what's good for you, and you do what you do and do it for you and do it good.
You still deserve a place in the feminist movement, whether you selling ass, selling coochie, or shaking it or whatever. You still deserve that 77 cents on the dollar.
Hey. Where this economy going? I know it be having me think like, dang, man, maybe I need to take some feet pics. Maybe I need to do an OnlyFans with the way this economy is going. Shoot.
But you know what? We're talking, but the truth is, as a woman, even if it's not any of those avenues, you're still with your boyfriend or husband doing some of these things too. And I know you're married. I know married folks, you're married, but at the same time, you still shaking your ass. You still got to lay on your back. You know, I'm just being for real. You know, so really, you really just say, no, because I got, you know, my boyfriend together, we've been together 7 years. I've been dealing with him. Or my husband, we've been 20. It's still some bargaining in there with some sex used. I've been married before, and it was some bargaining with some sex used. Okay. You know,
because do you think, I don't care if you're my man or not, do you think I'm going to be giving my ass to some man that won't even spit on me if I was on fire? Because I'm not.
Right. So it's some interchanging. It's some interchanging. No matter which situation is, it's some interchanging. So you know, I have one girlfriend. She said you gonna have sex anyway.
Like Rayla said, most women are still going to be objectified either way. Either way, guess what? No matter what we do, no matter how we do it, no matter how good we are at it, no matter what it is, you know, professional, OnlyFans, sex, whatever, stripping, whatever it is, we will get judged for it. They will always nit and pick at any little thing because, like, how I'm going back to like what you said, Raenesha, when you're at the table and you staying quiet, I get the you know, if I say something, oh, you being spicy, oh, you got lots to say.
Yeah,
you're damned if you do, and you're damned if you don't.
That's the fact, Jack.
Yeah, but that's why, you know, I'm real big on being authentic, right? Be authentic to yourself.
Okay, Nisha.
And so, like, that was just an attest to the whole. It was and as an example of the respectability politics that she discussed. That I really, really appreciated. Because it not only talked about like sex workers, it talked about all types of. She talked about all types of different things. In terms of respectability politics, and it put a lot into perspective for me because I already knew some about it, but the way she articulated her words and kind of connected everything really started to make more sense for me. So if you guys have not read this book, please read it. You can come back on this live. You can come on our Facebook page. You get messages on Instagram. Give us your thoughts, your opinions, whatever. I feel like whether you're a man, a woman, white, black, green, blue, purple, whatever, I feel like there's something in this book that everybody can take something away from. Even if you don't agree with the whole thing, you probably won't. But the name of the book is Hood Feminism: Notes from the Women the Movement Forgot About. And it is by Mickey Kendall. And she also grew up in, I think, Chicago. So I thought that was really interesting. Now, I did ask somebody, another Black woman, about her opinions on it. And she basically was saying that she liked it, but she wanted her to talk more hood, I guess, or talk more in layman's terms, which I totally understand. But for me, it's more so like there's no one way to be hood, right? You can be hood and still articulate yourself very well. You can be from the hood and still use, flowery language, or it don't have to be. Hood doesn't have one look. So that's another thing that I want all of us to take away from this live is that, like Jackie said, there is no one size fits all for nothing.
No.
Right.
And maybe no one, I went ahead and I put it in our Facebook live, the link to the book. But really, like you said, there is no like way of knowing who's hood, who's not, because I'm from Oak Cliff, I'm from the hood, and not one person would know until they cross me. Or at work, you get on my nerves. You about to get the hood side. You about to get it. Jackie's very articulate, very sweet, very nice. I put my professional voice on, but when you piss me off or you cross me, you get the hood side. And even my husband would tell me, like, oh, whoop, there goes the hood, Jackie. I was like, yep, you can take the hood, the girl out the hood, but you can't take the hood out the girl.
Well, I'm not really hood, but I'm country.
Jackie, you are hilarious.
So you got to know about the Hatfields and McCoys to understand me.
No, I am about that life. Shoot, I be quick to jump. I'm not even playing. Like people who have known me for years, and when I say years, from kid in the hood where I grew up, people that know me will tell you, oh, Jackie's very sweet, Jackie's very nice. But the minute you cross her, the minute you piss her off, ooh, you're gonna get a whole nother version of Jackie. Yes, I'm very sweet, nice. I'm a mom, but when I get pissed off, I get pissed off.
You like Mr. What is it, Mr. Jacqueline Hyde? Whatever it is.
Hey, she got the name, don't she?
Jackie.
I just want to say, y'all, that if you identify as a feminist or with the feminist movement, I want you guys to take away and think and let what we discussed today sizzle deep down in your spirit. And you know what? I do want to discuss, right? So y'all know I went to a women's college, Texas Women's University. And this is when I first kind of got introduced to feminism, because the whole school just had a very feminist approach to their teaching. And I have a degree in psychology. So, of course, they really took the feminism approach and took off with it. I enjoyed it. Don't get me wrong. I really enjoyed my education and everything. But everything that she discussed in this chapter is what I feel like, looking back, I experienced at school, because I feel like a lot of the education that I received from the feminist perspective was from a white feminist perspective. I feel like we rarely talked about, Black women or people of color or these different things. Like we always talked about, like she said in the book, like stuff that's important, but stuff that's just not, that should be put on the back burner in front of more important and serious issues, like changing your name when you get married, being whatever, I think I wrote it down, but either way, it was more so like that, instead of like a lot of the issues we've discussed today, like yes, with the white lens, thank you, Rayla, like Black women's issues that they face. I do know we discussed some about women being able to, not having the correct care or quality of care that they should have, but it was never from, okay, this is what Black women experience, this is what white women kind of experience, this is this. It was all more like oh, hey, we all experience the same thing. When it's like, nah, y'all really talking about white women. Like everybody else don't
Mm-hmm.
experience that.
Mm-hmm.
Like y'all still a foot ahead. And like she said in the book, even though y'all are women and do belong to an oppressed group, there is also a side of that that y'all need to recognize and use that, like Jackie said, to pave the way, since that's what y'all want to do anyway. And
Mm-hmm.
because y'all have the power to still oppress everybody else. Like it's the
Yep.
white man, the white woman, everybody else, really. You know what I'm saying? So, like she said in the book, white women still have the power to oppress black
Yeah.
women and black men, Hispanic women and
Mm-hmm.
Hispanic men, Indian women and Indian men, Chinese women. You know what I mean? So I
Yes.
think that if I could go back, the way I would shake the table in a lot of my classes, my professors would hate to see my face in class. I would hate to see my name on the
But
roster.
and to the point of
Because
what
I'm
you're
gonna be
saying,
that's
Raenesha, it's like the she she said something else.
this way.
Sisterhood is not one-sided. It's a mutual relationship between equals, and it isn't uncommon to fight. And it doesn't mean no one can tell you you're wrong. It means be open, listen to what we're telling you, and be for everyone. Again, just be for everyone, because there's nothing feminist about ignoring your influence and your resources that you have at your disposal. There's nothing feminist of that. If you know, again, that goes back to what I say. If you know you're white and you have white privilege and that you can make movement for me or for other women or other friends that you have or what have you, you can make noise. Do that. Don't be quiet, because you do have that privilege. Because if I do it, I'm gonna be
Exactly.
seen as a
Put it
loud,
on the
loud person
table.
like you.
I have one more
Yes,
thing I
Miss
want
Roberta.
to kick around. That's your right to your body. We
Mhm.
passed that. They passed
Mm.
that abortion law. Nobody,
That's
we didn't pay attention to it while they were navigating in these states and they were passing those laws. So now we got these abortion laws here in Texas. I think in is it Louisiana? I think we got to go 3 or 4 states over, but there's individuals here who got dire medical needs that they still have to have that baby. I heard the lady earlier today. She said the baby was breech, but she still had that have to have her baby. We're going to see more numbers of individual deaths and baby deaths because of that abortion law and our rights to ourselves. Just as a woman, who can tell, how can we, and we sit back, I keep saying vote, 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 and people keep saying vote, vote, vote tonight, but we sit back and let that happen because we were not voting and because
Yeah.
we were not paying attention.
Hmm.
And so now it's costing. It's going to cost
Yeah.
us. It's
So
going
it takes for you, like what we're saying here is be aware, be conscious, right? We talked about that before. Be conscious, be aware of what's going on. And it's simply by, you can sign up if you have an iPhone, you can select your Apple News on what alerts you want to get. It's as simple as just being it, Googling, what house bills are, under, review or what have you, what's the upcoming election about, and follow different groups. There are many different groups across Instagram and nonprofit organizations like Somos Tejas. Howdy Politics is his Instagram. She breaks down everything for you, and there's a lot of different like progressive or democratic um, you know platforms that really break it down for you of what is the bill that is trying to be passed, and
that's good,
what the
Jackie. I'm gonna
ins
take
and
that
the outs
advice.
of it, not trying to influence you but more so just inform you in lay terms, because the reality is the reason we don't vote is because we don't understand it. So if you want to understand it, follow these different people. Howdy Politics, Somos Tejas, really break it down for you so you could understand. Um,
and pay attention to it. Now,
yeah,
Jackie, can I answer Miss
yeah,
Lena's
yeah, yeah.
question? She said, am I for abortion?" Uh, Now, I just don't think I can give anybody, I can take anybody's rights. I know that
Mm-hmm.
people were
Yeah.
dying, going in alleys, paying
Right.
for abortions that was unsanitary. They were risking their lives. So I don't think I am big enough to say, hey, no, you can't have that abortion. Because, see, I'm not going to adopt every child that you didn't abort. And I'm not going to go and take care of every special need child that you had to have, or I'm not going to go to the families when the mother had to pass or the child had to pass. See, I'm not going to be there for that. So I
Mm-hmm.
think, it's
Right.
more than just an abortion. I think
It's about the peace.
when we pick up a fight, we got to look at all of that. Like I said, I know someone who has diabetes, and it's a high risk. She has a high risk pregnancy. So her baby was born in advance. So now the baby possibly going to have some special needs, premature baby, of course. So
Yeah. It's
now
all.
she's, she's going to have to keep going with this. See,
Yeah.
that's
It's
going to
all
be
about choice.
That's right. So it's going to have to be going. So what I'm saying is, I can see the cause and effect. Everything we
Mm-hmm.
do has an effect. Everything we do has a cause and effect.
Yeah.
So I can see where we're going. So what I'm saying, and I mean, I just brought it to the table because we forgot about that. But that's part of this feminist movement, is that we
Yeah.
have a right to say what we want to happen to our bodies, and we want to be treated right. And
Mm-hmm.
we have a right to good medical. We shouldn't have to go to no alley, and meet, someone who's gonna do this and that to our bodies and risk or neither should we have to go to a physician and he say, because of this and because your medical is this way, this is your possibilities of your baby that you're having. And then I have to sit there and still
Exactly.
have that baby.
Yeah.
Now
That's
I
very.
know, let me just interject really quick, Roberta. And I know Jay is usually the one, and she's not here today, but she'll be back, y'all. She's just having some personal stuff going on. But I'm gonna do kind of what Jay does, and I'm usually a private person, but I feel like this is a good moment for listeners and viewers to kind of get a grasp of what Roberta is talking about. So there are very few people that know this. My co-hosts here do know this, but I recently was pregnant, right? And so when I found out I was pregnant, now we all do know in Texas there was a 6 week law to where after 6 weeks you
Mm-hmm.
couldn't get abortion. Well, that no longer exists. You can't get an abortion in Texas at all, right? So by
That's
the
right.
time I found out I was pregnant, of course you miss a period. I was 5 weeks pregnant when I found out. By the time I got to the doctor, the same day I found out I was pregnant, they already was like, something's not right. I went back the next week and they're like, hey, your baby's not growing. Like, you're probably going to lose this child. Off top, we can tell you that right now from the numbers, your blood work, the measurements. We should be seeing more here. You're 6 weeks almost, and there's not even any inkling of movement or a heartbeat or beat or anything. And so here I am, like, okay, Lord, what do I need to do about this? So in my head, I decided that my personal choice was to go ahead and, because in that point in my life, I already felt like I had lost a lot of control of things. Man, I felt like a lot of things were just happening to me, right? So I wanted to try to take control of this situation since it was my body. And I was like, okay, well, I want to try to go ahead and maybe see if I can get a medical abortion, since the probability of this baby even making it is very low, and there's not even a heartbeat. So it's not even really a baby yet. I'm not even 2 months completely. And y'all, I had a hell of a time trying to figure out how I could get the doctors to just go ahead and somehow figure out how I can just abort the pregnancy. And not only am I dealing with the fact that I wasn't trying to get pregnant, I'm also dealing with the fact that my body for me is failing me and not supporting my child and doing what my body is supposed to do as a woman. So that was devastating. Now I have to literally sit here and let somebody else tell me how I can or cannot handle my situation. On top of
Right.
everything else,
Mm.
y'all, I never was able to get the doctors to do a medical abortion. And I literally went through a marriage miscarriage, which was the most traumatic experience of my life.
Mhm.
And the fact that I had to fight tooth and nail to prevent myself from going through something that I knew would break me into pieces, was,
Yeah.
I have no words for it. Literally sat there,
Mhm.
and this is also viewers' discretion. Went through labor and passed the entire fetus with the sack on a tissue in the bathroom alone.
Mm.
So when we talk about these abortion laws and this feminism, right? It's not because it's cute. It's not because it's the thing to do. It's because it's real, and these are
That's
real
right.
people's
It's free.
Yeah.
experience and things that
Yeah,
real women have to go through.
Mhm. Mm.
Just
that's
throw that
right.
out there and let that sizzling out spirit put it all on the table.
That's right.
Yes.
And
Ooh,
someone
child.
said, go to the Bible. No, no sin is greater than the other. You know, I like to say this. You know, He knows each of us. He created us. He said He knows our ups and downs. So I'm a rock with Him that away. So I don't really, when we talk about being, judge, but the whole thing is we can't judge. I can't, like I said, I can't say, hey, you can't do this, you should. I don't think we it was big enough for us. I think that it's safety and the situations that come around it, that that we should have had more. We should have been voting, should have been paying.
Yes. Yeah. And someone said, why do we think they passed this law? Well, first of all, it was men really trying to pass this law, number one,
And
and
they
they
did it. They,
succeeded.
they did it. They
They
did it. They were
succeeded.
that's right.
It goes back to that it's our bodies, it's our choice. And they did this because, again, we live in a red state. This is a red state, very Republican. And as much as they want to say that
That's
state
right.
and church is separate,
It ain't.
a lot of their stuff, a lot of the things that they passed really isn't separate. It's rooted in a lot of religious. But again, as we're saying here, y'all, we cannot judge. God judges. And when it comes to abortion, sometimes they're medically necessary, like literally for someone like Raenesha to not be put through all of that pain. It could have been simply solved by getting a medical abortion, because it could have avoided her going through that pain. It could avoid someone else going through that pain. It could avoid someone from dying from going through
Right.
that pain.
Absolutely.
And that's what has
And
happened.
when I
That's
tell
what
y'all,
has happened.
I went into such a deep depression. Like, I don't
Yeah.
wish that kind of sadness and hopelessness on nobody. And I guarantee you, if I would have been allowed the opportunity to at least take control of it and prepare myself and abort the pregnancy, I would not
Mhm.
have been as low as I would have been. Because again,
Yeah,
it just felt like stuff was just happening to me and happening to me and happening to me. And when it comes down to my own body, I still ain't got no control.
you still didn't have no
This stuff is
control. Yep.
still happening to me, and I'm being forced to deal. And now I'm walking around knowing I got a dead baby in my stomach. Like, who can handle that? That's never okay. I'm just sitting here waiting on
No,
the baby to pass. Like, and I've never had a kid
no,
before. I don't know what to expect. I've never been pregnant.
yeah.
None of that. So it's
Yeah.
just down to this whole feminist thing. Like, if we're gonna fight for women, we need to fight for real, not
And
halfway,
Derek,
all the way.
yeah, and Derek, you're right. It's your body.
And there,
It's your
Simple
body.
as it's her body, it's our
That's
body. No
right.
man should be dictating, no one else should be dictating, not the state, not the Congress, not no one should be dictating this. And it's ridiculous.
mm-hmm.
We're going back to everything that we Roe versus Wade, everything that we freaking fought for back then, that women fought for back then. We're back to square one. And this shit is freaking ridiculous that we have to go back to square one. The reality is, like we said, you need to vote. You need to be out there. You need to be informed. Make calls to your Congress. Like, this is coming from someone who has just been educated more about this, and really, really being more informed, well informing myself. So I'm talking as someone who grew in this area, because at the end of the day, everything down to mental health care, down to school funding, down to just accessibility to resources, accessibility to food, food deserts, everything is rooted in politics. So
Sure
if you
is,
want
and
to see
racism.
change, you need to vote.
Absolutely.
Right.
Well, we just want to thank everyone for joining today. This was a great episode. Again, the title of the book is Hood Feminism: Notes from the Women the Movement Forgot About. Please purchase it. Tell us what you think. Catch us
Yes.
every Monday
We'll
at 8
share it.
p.m. We be bringing the sauce. We be bringing the spice, the fire, all that. We be putting it on the table, honey. You never know what we're going to talk about next. Follow us on Facebook, on the table, Instagram, subscribe on YouTube. Thank you for listening. Catch
Thank
y'all
you.
later.
Night.